A Fox urgent now. Dutch police say they have now arrested a suspect after a gunman opened fire on a tram, killing at least 3 people and wounding 5 others. The mass shooting happened in the central Netherlands city of Utrecht at a busy intersection in the middle of a residential neighborhood. According to local reporting, it's a place where any kind of shooting is extremely uncommon. Earlier today, investigators released this image of the suspect. They say he's a 37-year-old man born in Turkey. Heavily armed counterterrorism police used a robot as well as a sniffer dog equipped with a camera during a massive manhunt. The Dutch justice minister says it is too early to say whether this was an act of terror. But there are local reports that the shooter may have been targeting a particular woman and shot people who tried to intervene. The suspect's father, who lives in Turkey, told Turkish reporters that he hasn't spoken with his son in 11 years and that, quoting now, if he did it, he should pay the penalty. According to a Turkish news agency, the suspect's relatives believe he shot at somebody who was close to the family. Ahead,
to bring you right up to date with our breaking news this hour that several people have been injured in a shooting in the central Dutch city of Utrecht. Let's speak to our correspondent Anna Holligan, who joins me now from the Netherlands. Anna, what more do we know?
The latest we're hearing is that one person has been killed in this shooting, which we understand was on a tram. It happened at 10:45 local time, so that's 9:45 GMT in Utrecht, which is a city in the heart of the Netherlands. The latest from the government is that they are holding an emergency meeting now. We understand anti-terror police have been deployed, and it's thought the gunman or gunmen are still at large.
And Anna, the police also seem to be saying that there could be a sort of terrorism motive here.
They suspect there may be a terror incident. We're also hearing they have deployed trauma helicopters to the scene, and they're also asking people to stay away to allow those first responders to do their vital work.
And obviously a sense of shock in the Netherlands at the moment as people are sort of looking at this news and digesting it.
A huge sense of shock, and especially in the context of what we've seen over the last few days in New Zealand. Shootings are quite rare here in the Netherlands. They're normally limited to crime gangs, drug cartels and that kind of thing. It looks as though this has happened on board a tram just after rush hour in Utrecht, which is a city right in the heart of the Netherlands. Police are asking people to stay away. They are dealing with the injured. 5 suspects have been arrested, in fact, we've just seen. Just looking at the latest from police in Utrecht, they say that a number of people have been arrested, although, in fact, no. The latest from police is that they believe the gunman is still at large and they're asking people to stay away. This is breaking news, still information coming in, and we're filtering through everything that's coming through to us here from Utrecht. 24 October Pine is the scene where the tram has been stopped. It's still not entirely clear whether it happened on board. Reports suggest it was on board. Certainly the area around the tram stop there on that square has been closed off.
Okay, Anna, thank you so much for that. Let's talk now to Michael da Manian, who is the journalist and editor of the local newspaper, the Utrecht Central. Thank you for being with us. We've been hearing from our correspondent in the Netherlands as well, but you're there in Utrecht. What is it that you can share with us? What do you know?
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me online on board. Yeah, I was just driving back home from my girlfriend's house, and yeah, I just noticed there was like a lot of traffic all of a sudden in the vicinity of Oktoberplein 24, where the incident took place. And yeah, I just noticed there was a lot of ambulances wanting to pass me by, and yeah, first of all there was one. I was like, all right, okay, so this isn't too bad. Must be like an accident or something, car accident. But then there was like 3, 4, a couple more ambulances wanting to pass by, and so I was kind of sure like this could be more than just a car accident. A couple of roads were blocked off by the police as well, so I had to take another route. So I got home and started wondering, okay, what what's going on here, and I found out online that it was a shooting party of about 4 men who entered the tram and started shooting around. It's not doesn't sound like a very pleasant scene at all. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, Michael, we had been hearing that it was 1 man and that he is still on the run, so to speak, but you're hearing it as 4 men who were involved?
Yeah, according to a Dutch source, RTV Utrecht, actually a woman claimed, or a man claimed to have seen 4 delicts enter the tram and starting the firing incident within the vicinity of the tram. A lot of passengers, of course, in a state of panic, trying to break the glass, and many succeeded in doing that and to exit the tram. So it's pretty shocking, gruesome scene as far as I've read up till now.
And Michael, have people been told to stay inside in Utrecht? What is the message to people who live around that area?
I don't really think that people have been asked to stay in their homes at this moment in time. I mean, it's just like the vicinity has been cleared up around the 24 October line, and I mean, there's no chance you're going to be entering the shopping mall in the vicinity either. They just want you to stay clear of the area. I have not heard of any deaths that have occurred up till now. Fortunately, there have been a few heavily wounded, and they have been rushed to hospital, and I hope all the best for them and all their family and relatives, that things do turn out well.
OK, Michael, thank you very much for joining us. Just to confirm what we do know for sure, Michael, of course, reporting what he is hearing, and it is a bit of a confused picture in the Netherlands at the moment, as it often is in these sorts of situations. But what we do know is that police in the Netherlands are saying that several people have been injured, some we think seriously in a shooting. This is in the Dutch city of Utrecht. We understand a gunman went into the centre of Utrecht and opened fire on passengers in a tram. There are some reports saying that he is still on the run. So we cannot confirm how many gunmen, but police so far just suggesting it is 1, actually. We are hearing as well that the anti-terrorism unit is holding crisis meetings with the Prime Minister as well. And the Dutch police spokesperson is saying that police were considering that the gunman, may have had a terrorist motive. So the Prime Minister, Mark Rutte, in a crisis meeting at the moment, and said he is deeply concerned about this incident. So we are keeping across all the developments for you from Utrecht, and as soon as we have anything new to bring you, we will let you know.
Now, we start with that breaking news from the Netherlands, where at least 1 person has died and several people have been wounded after a gunman opened fire on a tram in Utrecht. Police said the gunman may have had a terrorist motive and is still at large, and they haven't ruled out the possibility that others may be involved. We can speak now to Peter Hooting from RTV Utrecht. Peter, you are, I think, very close to the scene where the shooting, or the first shooting, happened. What could you tell us?
About 12 o'clock this afternoon, a group of people started shooting here. We don't know exactly if it was 1 guy with 1 pistol or multiple pistols, but what we know is that eyewitnesses heard 2 bursts of 3 shots. 1 woman we know was hurt, and she was screaming, "I didn't do anything." She was dragged over the road, and later multiple shots were heard by witnesses. I am standing now, and behind me there are 2 white curtains laying on the floor. We don't know officially how many victims there are, but we know there are definitely multiple.
And the gunman or gunmen still at large?
Yes, and I know for a fact that multiple people have been arrested. I've seen video evidence of this, but the Utrecht police is warning people, stay inside. We are still looking for at least 1 person. Important to know is that all the mosques in Utrecht have been closed down and are currently under guard.
Do we know the identity of the person or people who unfortunately have lost their lives, and indeed the identity of the gunman or gunmen?
I'm afraid I have to answer no to both of your questions. The police is waiting to reveal who the victims are. They have a very clear view of who the gunman is, and they are looking for him right now. As we speak, multiple groups of police officers are kicking down doors looking for this person.
OK, Peter Hoosing from RTV Utrecht, thank you very much indeed. Let's come on now with our correspondent Naomi Grimley, who's with me in the studio actually, and just going through all the agency wires at the moment. It's still not clear how many gunmen were involved. What, if anything, should we read into the lockdown of schools and mosques?
Well, I think given what happened in New Zealand on Friday, that is a sensible precaution for the police authorities in the Netherlands. Schools, of course, would be locked down anyway because they are talking clearly about at least one gunman on the run. We know that for a fact. We do not know, though, how many gunmen there are. We know that, of course, that the main location was this tram in the 4th of October place, as it's called, square, and then there is said to be a raid going on at a building about 2 blocks from there. When the police, though, say that there is shooting at several locations, it's unclear whether that means it might be a coordinated attack or simply that a gunman is running from venue to venue shooting as he goes.
Of course, this is just coming just such a short time after what happened in New Zealand. When you look at the rest of Europe, though, the Netherlands has largely been spared some of the activity within Europe, although there have been a few scares, haven't there, in the past 6 months or so?
There have. Most recently in September, police arrested 7 people and found bomb-making equipment, including fertiliser, which of course is often used in car bombs. So there's a sign that maybe there was some kind of cell of activity happening around that time, but otherwise you're right, not the same kind of scale of security threats as we've seen in France, particularly in those years 2015 to 2016 when there were the Nice attacks and also the Bataclan attacks and Charlie Hebdo. The Netherlands has, to some extent, managed to remain isolated from it.
We have heard, I think, from the Anti-Terrorism Commissioner, though, for the Netherlands. Did he go into any detail? Because the police are saying this has the potential of being a terrorist attack, and has that now been confirmed?
They simply say it appears to be a terrorist attack. We've also heard from Mark Rutte, the Prime Minister. He says he's deeply concerned about what's happening. He left a coalition meeting, his weekly coalition meeting, and went straight into crisis meetings. So certainly all indications are that it is a terrorist attack. Of course, the events in New Zealand should teach us that we shouldn't jump to conclusions about what kind of terror attack it is.
Utrecht itself, I think the 4th largest city, isn't it, in Holland. It does have quite a diverse population.
Yes, but it's otherwise a very quiet university town, lots of beautiful canals weaving through. So it will be a massive shock to the people there because they are not used to this kind of police activity, certainly on the scale that, you know, big global capitals like London and Paris have been in the last few years.
The terrorism alert has been raised in the past few hours as well, and is that quite rare for the Netherlands?
It's rare to go up to that maximum level for the reasons that we've just explained, that they have not had so many attacks as compared to other European countries. It is, though, just being raised to the maximum level for the province of Utrecht, so not the rest of the country, although beefed up security, obviously, in The Hague at government buildings and at major transport infrastructure terminals.
Naomi, thank you very much indeed. I think we can go straight to our correspondent Anna Holligan, who joins us now from the scene. Anna, can you just help us with how many gunmen or people involved, how many victims and how many locations?
Yet to be confirmed the number of locations. We know security has been stepped up at The Hague. So Parliament, the Dutch Prime Minister has convened an emergency meeting. As you can see here, we are at the scene of one of the shootings. This is Oktoberplein in Utrecht. You can see the police tape. Emergency services still at the scene. The tarpaulin underneath one of the carriages. Local news agencies reporting they saw a body being covered. Terror threat level now 5, critical. The sound of helicopters and drones still sporadically overhead. Mosques have also been given extra security. I'm going to turn the camera around just to give you a slight impression of the police presence here. And as you would expect on the other side, reporters gathering. It's actually, the roads all around this area have now been cordoned off, and the people in Utrecht are being asked to stay inside until the gunman has been apprehended.
So this is where the tram was hit, or somebody on the tram was hit, but where are the other locations where shooting has been reported?
We've heard from a police officer here that other locations were targeted, but they wouldn't go into more detail about those locations, perhaps for security reasons or because perhaps they haven't discovered that here yet, because they're focusing on events on the ground where we are now. We would expect to get those details shortly, of course, and in the meantime, the counter-terror police and the police here in Utrecht are treating this as a possible terror incident.
And what are you hearing about a looming police raid on a building, I think, fairly near where you are?
To be honest, I'm standing here in front of the camera, in front of the tram where the incident took place, so I haven't seen those latest reports. You may be getting more from elsewhere than I am right here, but this is the scene, as you can see.
Okay, but can you confirm, though, that the gunman
those latest reports as soon as we get them?
Yeah, but the gunman did leave, we understand, in a red Clio car. Is that what you're hearing as well?
Those are the reports we're hearing. The gunman left in a red Clio car, and it's suspected just one gunman involved in this attack, but it hasn't been confirmed whether others were present at the other locations mentioned by police earlier.
All right, okay. Anna, thank you very much indeed. Anna Holligan there at the scene of the shooting in Utrecht. Plenty more, of course, on the website.
To the programme, a gunman has killed 3 people and injured 5 others in an attack in the Dutch city of Utrecht. In the last few minutes, police have confirmed that a 37-year-old man of Turkish descent has been arrested. Security had been stepped up at airports in the area, with schools and mosques also told to shut their doors as the terror threat was raised to the highest level. Well, that threat has now been reduced now that the manhunt has come to an end. Well, an eyewitness who was on board the first carriage of the tram has been speaking to Dutch television, and he described what happened after the emergency brakes kicked in.
En keek om, ik zag iemand liggen.
I looked behind me and saw someone lying there behind the tram, a woman. People got out of their cars and ran towards us, and they started to lift her up. She was just slumped in their arms, and I helped to pull her out, and then I saw a gunman run towards us with his gun raised. I thought, I need to get out of here. I heard people yell, "Shoot her, shoot her," and I started to run.
Well, that was a witness on board the tram. Let me just bring you some of the latest lines, some of the latest pictures that have dominated this day, because that manhunt coming to an end only in the last hour. Confirmation coming right at the end of the news conference we were watching in the last edition of Global, with just one of the officials handed a piece of paper, and it confirmed that the authorities have made this arrest of the 37-year-old suspect. The news conference had started by saying the man was still at large and the searches were still continuing. Well, this, of course, the pictures from the scene of the tram, because that's where the shooting started, with 3 people now being confirmed as being killed, with 5 others being injured. And we've seen throughout the course of the day those forensic officers working in that tram. And these are the moments immediately after the shooting. You see a huge police presence, armed police in that central square, and the whole of Utrecht then went into lockdown as they began the search, because the authorities saying they had reports of shooting in several locations. That came from the head of anti-terror police early in the day, and we then went into hours where there was lockdown in Utrecht. There was terror in Utrecht as various schools and mosques and people were told to stay indoors, to lock their doors, as this search then continued in different parts of the city. Gavin Lee joins us now on the phone. He's there in Utrecht. And first of all, Gavin, it's worth just underlining that the authorities now saying the suspect has been caught.
Yes, we've heard from the National Coordinator for the Dutch Anti-Terrorism and Security Unit, who said in the past half an hour they have arrested 37-year-old Gokman Tannis, the suspect who is alleged to have carried out the killing of 3 people, injured 5 more, 3 serious injuries at this tram stop where I am talking to you from now, Oktoberplein, one of the main squares in Utrecht. I can see the tram still stationary in front of me here. What we're being told, because there's a lot of police activity around me, there are 3 helicopters above. The arrest took place 10 minutes 10 minutes drive north of the city centre, where we'll get a few details. We've seen some footage that's come through to suggest that he was on the street when he was arrested. Very close to where I'm talking to you now, on the basically about a block away, there's another police search going on involving anti-terrorist officers, military police, drones and dogs as well, which is understood to be where Gokman Tannis was living. Now, there's a huge amount of journalists there too, but after 7 hours of manhunt from the police, the highest level of alert, terror alert level 5, critical, that has now been reduced in the province of Utrecht to 4. They believe they have caught the main suspects involved. I should also point out, about an hour ago, Dutch police confirming they've arrested a second man, charged him with manslaughter. We're told they're not exactly sure of his role in the attacks, but that means there are 2 people now arrested in connection with the Utrecht attack.
Just briefly, Gavin, do we know anything? Have the authorities said anything about motive here?
What we have from the authorities is very little in terms of motive. What I can tell you from the Dutch media, particularly the Dutch state broadcaster NOS, is that this is a man with a long criminal record of burglary, of attempted murder charges, who was in court in the last couple of weeks for rape charges of an incident that's said to have happened 2 years ago. There are also allegations that he had attempted to murder a family member, a sister-in-law, in the past few weeks. So the picture slowly started to certainly be reportedly painted around this man, and I think that also tells us why Mark Rutte, the Dutch Prime Minister, when he gave a press conference earlier today, said he cannot rule out other motives. Characteristically, he said, a terrorism offence, a terrorism attack looked likely, but he would not be concrete on that, and we're expecting the Prime Minister to speak and give a press conference in the next few minutes.
All right, Gavin Lee, thanks very much. And I can see on my screen that news conference with the Prime Minister is due to start shortly, so when it does, we'll obviously carry that here on BBC World News. Well, before that, Mozambique's president says the number of people killed